Hey guys, I watched this movie over the weekend called Nambi, rocketry, the Nambi effect. And for those who haven't watched it, it's about a rocket scientist, an Indian rocket scientist who was falsely accused of selling secrets to foreign governments, and his life was ruined. And Indian rocket program was set back by almost 15-20 years. If he hadn't been put in that position, India would have been way ahead in that. And it talks about corruption, the hardship he had to go through, and with all the patriotic flavor of how he got there, what he could have done, and all that. And it's nothing new. We all watch these movies and get all worked up about state of affairs in India, and then we go back our merry way doing the things it is. Looking at the movie, actually, what I realized is now the situation is even more ripe for such a scandal compared to the 90s when it actually happened. Today, if a rocket scientist is accused of espionage, our news channels will jump on it and start doing coverage and declare the person culprit way quicker than what happened back then. Today we have social media, we have hyperactive news channels. It would be worse. So nothing has changed. In fact, it's um, sad that we have. Let me explain this. There was a very strong hint, but not a direct accusation, of a foreign power causing this, and most likely that is true. Um, Cryogenic technology is very valuable, and there were a lot of players in that area, and there was a valid reason why they would not want India to succeed. So they paid off a local Indian police, a cop, to put false evidence and false witnesses to create all this. What's sad is, why did that happen? Why do we have such a fragile police department, such a fragile legal framework that allows this to happen? And why did ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, not intervene for such a high profile scientist getting arrested? And worse, the public, as Indian public, we are really emotional. We get worked up the moment we hear somebody is doing something wrong. We take matter in our own hands. It's very common. We don't believe in personal freedom. We don't understand that someone who's being accused has a right to defend themselves. We start throwing stones, burning stuff, traumatizing that person, regardless of what the outcome is, and that has not changed. So like I said, we'll watch the movie, we'll be all emotional about our patriotic scientists and whatnot, but then we'll go back to doing the same thing. Then what is new? Why? The reason I'm talking about this is two things. One, as an immigrant myself, as I was watching the movie and knowing what was going to happen later, I could not stop but think about what would have happened if Nambi Narayanan had taken that position in NASA. If you rewind the movie back to the point where he was coming back from Princeton and he was given an option to work at NASA, he now working in ISRO and working in NASA versus working in in a software company, IT company, is different. There is not just a matter of working in America and getting a lot of money, but also a sense of national pride and patriotism. So I understand why he made that decision. But the immigrant in me kept saying in my mind, just take that position. The life would have been so simple and easy for Mr. Nambi Narayanan if he had just taken that job in NASA. But then there's always that question of what do you owe to your country and all that stuff. But the fact is, we are not, as a country in India, we are not ready to nurture scientists or any kind of talent. We, at any point of time, the red tape, the politics, the corrupted system that we have to go through, given a choice, any sensible person with enough talent will opt out. Yes, we like our Kalams and Unnis and Nambis and treat them as the greatest scientists ever. But if you take a step back and look, there are hundreds and thousands of much more talented scientists who have opted out of the it's government job, opted out of government jobs because they want to avoid the politics and the system that comes with it. The private sector has taken all those people and they have succeeded. Some of them have come to greener pastures like Europe and America. But even in India, there are a lot of talented scientists who have not taken up these jobs. So, as much as we can celebrate our success and talk about the people who have done this, we have, in India, we have definitely missed out on a lot of talent that could have been. The other thing that I was thinking about as I was watching that was when I graduated from engineering college, right out of the college, I applied for the Atomic Research Center in India. I wanted to be a scientist. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a science guy. I applied and I cleared the first round of tests and was invited for an interview, which is a big deal in India. Clearing the written exam to be invited for an interview was a big deal. So I went for the interview and I was rejected. It was tough. The questions were much more practical as opposed to the theory we had studied in college, and I highly doubt anyone could have known that. I was at the top of my class, and I can certainly say that nobody in my class would have been able to answer that. Things like what would happen if an aluminium core or an aluminium wiring was used instead of copper or iron. I think the questions were around that line, and they were trying to see if I could explain the characteristics of a motor based on those changes. I didn't know that. If I had succeeded, I would have been probably in a similar situation as Mr. Nambi and probably would have gone through the same bureaucratic hurdles that he had to go through. If we want our people to succeed, not just in space research or atomic research or any kind of scientific research, but any kind of job, even an IT professional today in India goes through so much hurdles to survive day to day, to get electricity in his house, to get water supply, to pay taxes, to transfer properties. I was in India 3 weeks ago, and the amount of complexities I had to go through to get some work done was crazy. So that is okay, but what really upset me at one point was when I found out that Two people that I knew were selected in the same research center, and I knew for sure that they knew nothing about engineering and technology. But there were other reasons they were selected. It's mostly related to parking. It was mostly related to the system of reservation we have in India. We reserve almost half of the government jobs openings for lower strata of society, and I understand we need to work to elevate people who have not been given chances in their life. So I understand it's not just about science and technology, but a social change is required. But it did not upset me. It saddens me that a premier research agency like Atomic Research Center had to deal with subpar talent. But it is what it is. I left India and I found, well, I didn't leave India immediately. I found an IT job. I was able to exercise my freedom and talent, and then I moved out. So, but eh, when you watch a movie like that, those things sort of start coming back to you. The decisions that you made, and you think whether it was good or not. And the movies that highlight the difficulties of um, such personalities kind of prove again and again that the brain drain is, although it's sad for India, in the personal, in the realm of personal freedom and personal development of an individual, I think it was the right decision. So, right, that's all I had.